Good evening. I'm calling this meeting of the Cleveland Heights City Council to order. Addie, take the roll, please.
Cobb.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Maddox.
Here.
Russell.
Here.
Petrus.
Here.
Posh.
He is excused.
Sheets.
It is my pleasure to introduce the newest council member, Zidonia Sheets. Councilor Sheets was sworn in at 5:30 p.m. today by State Representative Juanita Brent. Councilor Sheets, would you like to say a few words? We are so excited to have you here.
Yes, thank you. I actually am grateful for this opportunity. I do come with some experience with lobbying and presenting legislations. However, I haven't done it on a larger scale, whereas, being on a smaller scale, I actually look forward to the challenge. I do pride myself in volunteer work, and I primarily deal with the youth. So I thank you all. If you want to discuss youth initiatives, I am definitely open to hearing any suggestions or recommendations.
Councilor, excuse me, I'm sorry, Zidonia. Councilor Sheets was sworn in, but she was also sworn in with a very unanimous support of all of council. It was her interest in the lived experience she has and her interest in writing legislation, participating in the budget, and identifying how Cleveland Heights can provide more for our youth. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We don't have any amendments to the agenda. Approval of the minutes. Does anybody have any changes they need to make on those 2 months of or 2 days of minutes? Okay, I'm going to say that we'll consider those minutes approved, Addie. Thank you very much. And I would like to call to the podium our teen poets for the evening from Lake Erie, Inc.
I'm not the teen poet. I'm going to introduce the teen poet. We have one with us today. I'm Cynthia Larson. I'm the education director at Lake Erie Inc., a writing space for youth. And I'm here to introduce Ari Denton, who is a 7th grade writer from Baumgartner Middle School, who participates in our InkSpot after school program for middle schoolers. Ari said she goes to the InkSpot just because she likes to write. And she's going to share a poem with you that's an ekphrastic poem. It's a poem that you write in response to a piece of art. So listen carefully so you can guess what the art is, and then she'll reveal it later.
My eyes are blank, the surf is all around me cold. I've been framed for all these years, unable to move. My eyes burn, tears dripping. My face hurts from the cold air, turning it into stone. My lips burn from the slight crease they have been in forever. Hopefully the pain will stop, leaving me in a place of peace forever. This poem is about The Girl with the Pearl Earrings by Johannes Vermeer. Hopefully you enjoyed my poem.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate the time, and bring a poet back anytime that you want to, please.
We'll be happy to.
All right.
Talk about youth, too.
We have Ryan Porter on Zoom. He's going to put a presentation together for us of the Severance Center and give us an update. So it's all yours, Mr. Porter.
Thank you, everyone. So unfortunately, my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, got hit by a car today. So I am in the car right now, about to head to the hospital. So I don't have any presentation with me, but I did want to spend the time to give you folks an update as to where we are, if that's okay. Is everybody hearing me clearly?
Yes, you're good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we are about 7 days from submitting our official zoning proposal. So we're going to be submitting the zoning proposal on the 29th. We had targeted doing it about a week and a half ago for tonight's meeting for you guys to accept the zoning proposal as something for review. and then refer to the planning commission. But unfortunately, we couldn't make last week's target, but we will be on time to submit by the 29th, probably the 28th, in advance of your first meeting in November. And the goal there is for us to get you the zoning package, the full zoning package for you to begin reviewing, refer to the planning commission and us to schedule the public hearing for the zoning for the beginning of December. We'll be going through a series of steps between the public hearing and your meeting, first meeting in November, including going to a full presentation to the planning commission. I'll probably speak with them tomorrow night as well, just to prep them via Zoom like tonight. Then we will have a joint meeting. We're hoping to have a joint meeting of your board and the Planning and Economic Development Committee to discuss any thoughts, comments, questions on the zoning proposal that we've been working on. And then eventually we'll have the public hearing, and then ultimately we'll be looking for the board to opine upon the zoning around the middle of December. So that's our current target outline of process. I know I've spoke to some of you about that over the last week or two, but I wanted to kind of put that out there for you all as a group and for the public. We're pretty excited about how the zoning package is coming together. We had a lot of input from community members. We had a lot of input actually from the Transportation Committee. Retweaked a ton of our street designs. The city had brought in a consulting team on the transportation side also to help us with some of the street designs. There was a ton of collaboration that had to happen, obviously, with the fire department around some of those designs. I would say the irony of the whole thing is that we're trying to make safer streets. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law just got hit by a car. So anyhow, we've put together kind of a real comprehensive package for you folks. I'm excited to dig into the details. I think some of the broad-based strokes around the program, so the overall program that we're proposing as part of the zoning, which basically is projecting a 20 to 25 year build out. That doesn't again mean for the public that buildings won't be up in the next couple of years and you won't feel like we have a place there and at the beginnings of a downtown. But, you know, the reality is the site, as I've said to everybody, is very big. So it'll take quite some time over time to build out the whole site. And we've put together total zoning thresholds for that entire build out, which include 2,500 units over a 20 to 25 year period, 175,000 square feet of retail space, 85,000 square feet of office, professional office, medical space, 250 rooms of projected hotel space. These will all be caps. Arts and cultural space up to 50,000 square feet, institutional, civic, and educational up to 75,000 square feet, and light industrial and artisan production space up to 50,000 square feet are our recommendations. Obviously, you'll be able to read this in detail in the code. But we spent a lot of time with staff and, you know, market studies to kind of figure out what is that 25-year max build out. It doesn't mean everything that's in there will get built, unlikely that it will. But that is kind of the thresholds that we've put together in this proposal. We built a pretty comprehensive parking situation where, you know, we're trying to encourage people to build their own parking over time, but there will be a buyout fee. So we're going to work with the city on where those fees go to help fund future parking, public parking. We've built an open space requirement in our zoning. So every site will be required to provide approximately 10% of their site area for civic open space. And there's a whole percentages that they can buy out of that, but no more than 50%. And there's thresholds on the upper end and the lower end of site sizes as to where you fall into that spectrum and what the buyout costs are so that we can fund additional park space and larger park space. So, you know, we've done some really interesting things in the zoning code around where buildings can be a certain height. Obviously, we're tapering off the height in the zoning code as a recommendation as you reach and approach the single family home neighborhoods to the east and to the south of the site. The zoning is very focused as a form-based zoning code on creating great place and making sure that the ground floor of a lot of these buildings have significant storefront glass to them, so that when you're walking, you really feel like you're in a downtown and in a place, not walking against blank walls. So every street and block has very different requirements in the new kind of layout of the roads that we're proposing. And I'm excited to dig in a lot of the details with you. I really wanted to present some of those tonight, but unfortunately I'm in the car, obviously. But we have time to do that. And we're excited to get those submitted to you, the full package submitted to you next week. So I'll stop there. That was a lot of information I shared, but happy to take any questions from the board. Thank you.
Anybody? Councilor Maddox?
The only thing I have to say is thank you and praying for her swift healing and recovery and your strength as well. You've been coming to us for quite a while like this, and I've never seen you look like this. And so I'm just really urgent to get you off of this and back where you need to be. But please know we're thinking about her and you tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much, Councilman Maddox. Listen, I would not miss this for the world. So this project's obviously super important to me, but appreciate your thoughts.
All the thoughts and prayers coming from this room right now for your mother-in-law. We hope that she'll have a speedy recovery. And I don't have any questions. So I'd like to say,
Good night.
Take care. Good night and take care. Thank you,
Okay,
Ryan.
thank you so much, folks. And, I promise we'll do a lot more diving into the details in the next week or so, okay?
We'll see you November 3rd. Yes?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right.
Yes.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Communications from the mayor.
Madam President, thank you. Welcome, Councilwoman Sheets. Does that sound good to you? Good, I'm glad. And I want to thank Executive Director of Lake Erie, Inc., Amy Rosenbluth. I was reading one of the books that they put out in with all the teen poets, and I just called her up and she arranged this whole thing. So that was very nice of her. I just want to inform council a few activities, and then we have a guest that I want to get to very soon. I met with the Northeastern Ohio Sewer District and the mayor of Shaker Heights last week, and we talked about the Lower Lake situation. There are three alternatives that the sewer district is looking at. One of them is a first-class dam, one of them is a second-class dam. But the one that I think has the most discussion is the idea of having some kind of water feature. And the director of the sewer district said they are willing to do a feasibility study on a water structure that could have let's say stormwater management capability that would allow the sewer district to pay for this. And I said, I hope you can design something that would indeed fulfill that, because that's the way this could happen, where we wouldn't have to be financially involved. So there are going to be 3 meetings scheduled with you all. ODNR is going to be at one with you, Metro Parks, and eventually the sewer district. Here's the bad news. They really want to do these during the day. And I know your days are very booked up and actually very difficult, especially for the working. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to, but the doodle poll will be coming your way. So,
Excuse me, Mayor, I'm sorry. Who will the doodle poll come from? Because we're coordinating with Shaker as well, Shaker Heights as well.
Yeah.
All right,
You'll
thank
be
you.
coordinating that. Secondly, unfortunately, I have to announce that our finance director, Rodney Hairston, is resigning. Never like to give news like this. Director Hairston was offered a job. He lives in Akron and was offered a job close by. And unfortunately, he felt like they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. I do want to say that he's really made a great impact here. He's made some great hires in the department, and he's definitely left it in better shape than when he took it over. And I want to express my appreciation to Director Hairston. He'll be here just till the end of the week. Administrator Dumas will talk to you about how this is going to work when she gives her report. I want to say that When I hired Administrator Dumas, I knew she had a lot of experience with finance, being finance director 16 years in Cleveland. And I also contracted with Andy Unetic, our former finance director, because I knew that we were going to have to do a lot of work in a short amount of time. So I'm just trying to allay any fears anybody might have. We have some good people in place. We've all heard the news about Metro Health. I'm glad that Dr. Alexander is here today. She'll be speaking in a moment. So I'm actually not going to say anything other than I have spoken with Chris Ronayne and Michael Hauser, our representative on County Council, and Dr. Alexander. So I'll let her do the update on that. We are having budget meetings, and when I say we, I mean myself, Director Dumas, and the directors, the department directors. We started today. Very vigorous meetings, making great strides on getting a budget done. You will have, I know this is being filmed, you will have a budget, at least a budget draft on November 1st. So look forward to that. And then lastly, let's talk about the pool. We have an agreement with University Heights, the school district, and hopefully Cleveland Heights tonight in front of you. This was started 3 years ago by Vice President Russell, and we have now, I think, willing partners here. This is a great opportunity. It's only a start. We're only going to have 6 to 7:30 a.m. 5 days a week to start with. We're doing the lifeguards with University Heights pitching in 25% of the money. The school district is providing the security and the maintenance of the pool. And this is going to be a great thing for Cleveland Heights. Starting in March, we'll be able to book evening hours, weekdays. And council, I'm suggesting to you, you are the budget authority. This is the time of year when we want to look at maybe expanding this to Saturdays next year, because I know our residents would probably love to swim on Saturday as well. So that's something we can look at when we're doing the budget process. So good news there. And if I could, I'd like to introduce now, any questions for me? Okay, I'd like to introduce Dr. Alexander. She is the CEO of Metro Health. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Really appreciate that.
Thank you. Good evening, Council President Larson, Council Vice President Russell, members of City Council, Interim Mayor Tony Kuda, other city officials, and of course the residents of the city of Cleveland Heights. I'm Dr. Christine Alexander Rager, and I'm the President and CEO of the Metro Health System. Thank you so much for inviting me this evening. There's been some confusion and miscommunication about an announcement that we made last week about our psychiatric emergency department. You might all otherwise know this as an emergency room in Cleveland Heights. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to provide some clarity and to answer any lingering questions you may have about these changes. Last week, we announced that we would be closing our psychiatric emergency department at the Metro Health Cleveland Heights Medical Center here at Severance Town Center. This change will be effective December 31st. We passed out a diagram of the property, and you can see from this diagram that our Psych ED is a service that's within our 24-hour, 7-day-a-week medical emergency department. This is adjacent to the Behavioral Health Hospital, all of which resides inside the Cleveland Heights Medical Center. So while we are closing the Psych ED, we are not reducing any care space. Psychiatric emergencies will be managed by our 24/7 medical emergency department, which will remain open and will continue to serve the residents of Cleveland Heights and the surrounding communities, whether they arrive on their own or are transported there by emergency services. Our behavioral health hospital will remain open. And the Cleveland Heights Medical Center also remains open, offering more than 50 different medical services and specialties, including rehabilitation, vision care, primary care, outpatient surgeries, a full-service lab, sports medicine, a pharmacy, a bustling senior care practice, and so much more. Behavioral and mental health services will remain a significant part of what we will provide in Cleveland Heights. This is a vital need, and we refuse to walk away from it. I want to say clearly that our commitment to Cleveland Heights and to our site at Severance Town Center is also unwavering. We are excited and grateful to partner with this historic and thriving community to be one of the anchors in the exciting rebirth of the Severance Town Center. Any decision to reduce services is always a difficult one. However, this decision was the right one for us financially and operationally. Hospitals and health systems across the country are facing crushing financial challenges. At Metro Health, we are doing all we can to get our financial house in order while also strengthening our ability to care for our community and fulfill our mission. In recent months, we have announced layoffs, executive pay cuts, site closures, and more in order to improve our finances. But we have also been strategic. For example, our site closures have allowed us to redeploy resources and expand access with evening hours across the county. We are looking at all aspects of our organization. Nothing is off the table to find ways to improve and reimagine how we operate. The goal for us is more than managing the books. It is about having the resources to invest in our people and in exciting programs and innovation that will improve the health and lives of people in Cleveland Heights and throughout Greater Cleveland. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I look forward to answering any questions you may have.
Thank you for coming tonight. I appreciate you. I am concerned about those patients who would go into the psychiatric ED. So that unit closing down, where do those patients go?
So I'm glad that you brought that question up. Right now, the patients are kind of clustered, for lack of a better word, in the psychiatric ED here at Cleveland Heights. It's a centralized model where everything would be brought to the central care place. So patients will now have the opportunity to be seen in any of our other medical emergency departments where we will be redeploying staff that can take care of them at points throughout, our footprint. So here at Cleveland Heights, at the medical emergency department, which is adjacent, right? So they could be cared for here, they could be cared for at main campus, they could be cared for in Parma or in Brecksville. But in addition to that, we're also expanding our footprint of behavioral health services across our ambulatory centers. So patients will be able to walk into the places that they would ordinarily come for care, to also present if they're having a flare or a crisis. So it really is more of going from a centralized model to a dispersed model throughout the community.
Any other questions? Counselor Sheets.
Hi, thank you for the clarification. How many more beds will that create for people that are coming in that are not having a psychiatric need?
So in this particular psychiatric emergency department, the beds were independent of the medical emergency department. So there were roughly 10 beds in this psychiatric emergency department. So in the emergency department at Cleveland Heights, the number of beds stays stationary. However, we can flex into using this space if we have patients that come in that have the need, that we can flex into using the space. We're also doing the deep dive of saying, what else might we be able to provide in this space that connects into behavioral health needs for the community. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Seeing no questions, thank you again for coming and speaking to us, and we look forward to hearing more as this all evolves. Appreciate it.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay. The city administrator report. Back in the back row. Yes, I see that.
Good evening, Council. Good evening, residents of the city of Cleveland Heights. As you heard Mayor Kuda indicate, our current finance director has found other employment, and his last day will be this Friday. The assistant director of finance, his name is Rayshawn Caldwell, and she will be stepping into his position for this transition period. So she will be doing double duty because she will have her old position as Assistant Director of Finance and Director of Finance. To help that, of course, we brought in a firm, and that firm is assisting us in getting our financials together, completing our budgets, and completing the financials for fiscal 23 and 24 are almost completed, and we're up to third quarter in fiscal 25. So before she joined us, she worked in governmental accounting. She is an accountant. She has 20 years experience in governmental accounting. She's worked on capital projects. She's been an account manager. She has facilitated audits and financial reporting, so she will work well for us in this short period of time. She will return to her position the last week of December as we transition with whomever is elected with the new mayor. In addition to that, wanted to alert council that we are, and our residents, that we're going to be having what is called ALICE training, which stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. And this is major incident training, emergency operations training, safety response to major incidents, shooters, active shooters, any kind of a explosion, anything that's major. City Hall will be closed when we do this training, and it'll be handled by Chief Harry of the Fire Department and Chief Britton. It'll be closed for 2 hours for the training. And we also will be doing training, we'll extend the invitation to council and the court for the training. And we also will be doing training at our community center under Director Gonzalez. And finally, I wanted to emphasize the Climate Action Day that we're having here at City Hall. Day one is October 23rd, and it's 6:30 to 8 o'clock. This one is at the Heights Library on Lee Road Branch, rooms A and B. And day two, October 24th, is from 1 to 3, and it's here in Cleveland Heights City Hall atrium. And there'll be hands-on activity for tree care, recycling, composting demos, energy-saving tips, electric vehicle showcases, resource drop-offs for electronic recycling. And who should attend? Residents, students, families, and everyone in Cleveland Heights that interested. So thank you.
Thank you, City Administrator Dumas. Appreciate it. Okay, are there any departmental reports, Mayor Kuda? All right. Report of the Clerk of Council.
Nothing to report.
So Clerk of Council, back at you. How many requests for public comment do we have this evening?
22.
Right. I'd like to reduce the time to 2 minutes. I'm sorry, but we kind of have to do that in order to make sure that everybody gets to speak this evening. So we'll start with the first one. This will be legislative agenda items only.
Alicia Venier.
And please give your name and your street or neighborhood when you step up, please. Thank you.
Hi, good night, everyone, council members. My name is Alicia Vanier. One part, Gavin Vanier is out there somewhere. And we own properties on Noble Road between Noble and Monticello and Noble and Roanoke. As I said, my husband and I, we've been, property owners in Cleveland Heights since December of 2021. And over the years, we faced our share of challenges. Some difficult and at times discouraging. To be honest, our relationship with the city wasn't always positive. But I want to acknowledge over the past few months that has truly changed. My interactions with the city has moved in a positive direction. There's been more communication, more collaboration, and a genuine sense that the progress for the Noble Road area is finally being made possible. So that's why I'm here tonight, because I believe in this transformation. There are people like Myra and others who have been part of this effort, who have spent nearly or more than 5 years investing their time, energy, and resources in making the Noble Area Business Association a reality. We don't want them or us to have to wait another 5 years to see it happen. So I'm humbly asking the committee and the community to continue seeing this effort all the way through to support this organization and help us in creating a more vibrant, safe, and a thriving business area corridor that truly reflects Cleveland Heights.
Thank you.
Gavin Venier?
That's me again. I have some pictures that I want to share. And I'll explain it. So I want to talk about an issue that's personal to me. With our properties, we have a shared parking lot behind our properties that has had ongoing problems for years. So despite repeated outreach, there is still no accountability or clear ownership from the city. The lot is filled with potholes, trash, and overgrown grass. My husband and myself, we pay someone weekly to just keep the area clean, keep it usable and safe. What makes it worse are the 2 light poles that have been non-operational for probably more than 10 years. The lack of lighting has created serious safety concerns. There's been vandalism, there's been theft, and ongoing inappropriate activity taking place in the dark. We filed police reports, we've spoken directly with detectives, and we've reached out to multiple departments, but yet nothing has changed. Just last week, a detective investigating a car vandalism behind the building was shocked to learn that those lights hadn't been operable in years. That should not be news to anyone. My question to the city is, does someone have to get seriously hurt before this is addressed? At the last meeting that I attended, I spoke with another longtime business and property owner here in Cleveland Heights. His property is on a different lot, but he's facing similar challenges, lack of response, lack of support, and the inability to use viable parking spaces, which are impacting his business by taking away usable parking spaces that are blocked off by orange cones and concrete dividers, preventing vehicles from being parked there and his inability to operate. He's run a successful business for more than 5 years, but now because of these ongoing issues, I don't even want to say this, he may have to shut down business. What does that mean for him? That means several of his employees could lose their jobs. When I heard this story, I haven't been able to stop thinking about it. Now that you've seen the pictures and understand how this affects real people and real businesses, I have to ask, will you be able to sleep at night? Knowing the city has the power to act, but yet continues to do nothing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It wasn't done, but. All right.
Franklin Miles?
You want my time? How you guys doing?
Good.
I am Franklin Miles. I've met a few of you. I'm a State Farm agent up here on Mayfield Road, Mayfield and Warrensville, and Heights alumni. Monticello Boulevard, Coventry, but I have 2 minutes on it. I'm going to talk quick. In 2021-22, I renovated the building that I'm in. I purchased that building. It's a 10-unit strip plaza, and I renovated the entire building. And it looks amazing. If you haven't driven that way, you should go back and look at it. It's amazing, and it did great for that particular area. But since I did that, the Subway has a new owner, and they renovated theirs. The transmission shop that was closed for 5 years, someone purchased that, Weeks Automotive. He renovated his. The Eyesore Metro place that was purple right across the street from me was purchased by Crash Collision, and they purchased an adjacent lot and renovated that whole area. The dinette shop that was there for 50 years, when I was walking up Monticello, I'm not that old, sold, and now that's a strip plaza, 3-unit strip plaza. And then lastly, we have Culture that redid his entire storefront. So that whole area is beautiful because of what the business owners did. And we are denying the Noble Corridor this opportunity to beautify their area. It's been it's been in you guys' hands for 5 years. Every point of Cleveland Heights should be important. Today, I'm asking you guys to put this thing to vote so we can get the hard work done and work on the Noble Corridor area. I mean, is anybody here opposed to that? I just wonder. Seriously. I had pictures before and after, but I didn't bring them because I'm sure if you've been here long enough, you would have known how that Mayfield, Warrensville area looked, okay? And how it looks today.
Mr. Miles, I'm sorry your time's up, but I would like to reassure you, you were in our meeting, Committee of the Whole. We just got the legislation, even though it's been worked on by Vice President Russell and the people that she's been working with and our beloved merchants in Noble. We just got that legislation for first reading tonight.
Unfortunately, it's been on the books for 5 years.
I understand
We just need to get it rolling, get it moving.
We have a fiscal responsibility to make sure that we protect the taxpayers' interest and also that make sure that your interests are protected as well. So we're working with the law department and we're asking our questions between now and November 3rd. So
Thank you.
sorry to disappoint you.
No, you didn't disappoint me. I appreciate that it's moving.
right.
So thank you. Thank you for your time.
Antoinette Mohammed.
Good evening, council members. My name is Antoinette Mohammed, proud business owner of Salon Productions, located on Noble Road, 2577 Noble Road. I'm here in support of the legislation to fund the beautification and marketing and business development for our local business district. This investment is just not about appearance. It's about restoring our pride, attracting customers and strengthening the small businesses that serve our communities, every day. So I've been on Noble Road for 20 years now as a cosmetologist, and I've owned my salon for 13 years. We've been working for a long time to receive this funding. So could you please partner with us to help us to build a stronger Noble Road? Thank you so much for your support.
Jacqueline Remmer.
It's me again. Jacqueline Rimmer. My address is 3801 Monticello Boulevard, and I'm owner of The Exclusive Touch at 2579 Noble Road. And I'm just here again to speak in support of the Noble Area Business Association. Our group of business owners remains steadfast in our dedication and commitment to seeing this association come to fruition for the development and the future of the area. And we just really hope that this council just has that same dedication by coming together this evening to pass legislation that will begin the process of truly transforming Noble into a place where all of its residents are able to live, shop, and dine right in our own neighborhoods, and we don't have to continue. I mean, we love Coventry, we love, going to Cedar Lee and everywhere else, but we wanted to be able to do those things right in our backyard, just like everybody else does. So thank you.
Thank you, Jacqueline.
Adam Dew.
Hi, Council. Welcome, Zenobia, to Council. I'm not speaking about the most important thing tonight. I'm here to just bear witness to everyone voting yes on the pool legislation tonight. I think we're all on the same page this time, right? Yeah, okay. Anyway, I wanted to just shout out my fellow rec board members tonight who have sort of carried the banner for this over the last 3 years and sort of kept this at the forefront. Former Peter Titus, our former chair, Debbie Arbach Brown, our current chair, Mike Payne, Lenore Cruz Price, Peggy Spaeth, Tom Hodgkiss Lilly, and Alex Pesta. And Davida Russell, thank you so much being there and carrying that banner in the forefront for us all this time on this issue. And for me, it was really never about swimming. It was about getting this city to work properly on behalf of its citizens, and how our school district and our city should be working together on behalf of our citizens at every turn. And so we've got a lot more facilities that belong to the school district that actually belong to the people and could be better used. We have the best auditorium in the city, or in the east side, is in our high school, and it's totally underused for city purposes. And I would encourage everyone to come by the Heights Hall of Fame induction ceremony on Thursday, 1:15. The director of Abbott Elementary, one of the directors is Matt Pexa is going in, as well as Grammy Award winner Alex Smith, and Bubbleman Gary Perlman also going in on Thursday. So come on by if you have time Thursday afternoon.
Thank you, Adam.
Jose Culis.
I hope you're all doing well today. Two things I want to try to cover. First is the Noble Area Business Association. I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's a real opportunity here to transform this district into an economic powerhouse. We have the right people in place. We have the desire, the willpower, and the possibility. What we need is a foundation of support so that we can stand on our own. Too long has this community been neglected to the advantage of other parts of the city. All I'm asking is that we have similar opportunities that mirror other parts of the city. It will benefit Noble and Cleveland Heights greatly. We can be so much more. The second reason I'm here is a little bit more selfish. When I first started visiting council, it was out of frustration. That hasn't changed much, unfortunately. The parking situation has gotten a little bit worse, if nothing else. To Mayor Kuda's credit, I do feel that attention is being paid to the situation. I'm grateful. I'm really grateful. You know that. I do worry that it's going to be a little bit too late. Once the snow hits, we're going to be in trouble. Faith is a beautiful thing, and right now my future's in the mayor's extremely capable hands. That being said, the first time I visited council on August 4th, several of you spoke to me directly about my situation, potential financial assistance, and the desire to keep my business solvent. Since the beginning of this ordeal, I estimate that I've lost over $40,000 triaging the situation. There's a strong probability that I'm gonna have to come out of pocket to pave part of the property with money I don't have. I estimate that's probably gonna push another $25,000. I don't have it. All of the money that I borrowed for critical improvements to the property are now my operational funds, covering payroll and day-to-day necessities. We went from a place of strength where we could address some of the critical improvements to the property on our own to a place of vulnerability where the survival of my business becomes much more in question than I'm really comfortable admitting. I'm wrapping up. Right now, we're maintaining at best. My question is actually for the two mayoral candidates. At some point during your campaign, I would like to see if you would be comfortable directly addressing my situation and how the city will or will not help me rebuild the foundation that has been kneecapped over the past 4 months due to the roadblocks we have had to contend with. Do you affirm that you will be, that there will be assistance for my business as implied on August 4th? I want to thank you all and thank you. Thank you. I mean it.
Thank you, Jose. Thank you.
That's all I have for legislative agenda item comments.
So we're going to go to general comments, and may I remind you again that when your name is called, come up to the microphone and state your name and street or neighborhood. All right, who's first?
Amber Gibbs.
Good evening, council members. My name is Amber Gibbs, and I am a resident of Cleveland, but I am here on behalf of the Cuyahoga County Board of Developmental Disabilities. I was here last year to reintroduce you to the County Board of DD and tell you a little bit about our services and how we can benefit the residents of Cleveland Heights. This year, I'd like to start by recognizing an important milestone for our organization. It is the 20th anniversary of our last property tax levy. When we passed that levy in 2005, we promised the voters and the county commissioners at the time that that funding would last us for at least 10 years. And here we are 20 years later, stretching those dollars as very far as we can while still supporting 15,000 people with developmental disabilities. 2/3 of our $180 million budget comes from that 3.9 mil continuous levy. From birth through adulthood, we support people with developmental disabilities to live their very best lives. Our mission is to support and empower people to live, learn, work, and play in the community, and that includes all over Cuyahoga County. Over the last 20 years, the levy that was approved by voters has supported people with developmental disabilities through our early intervention services, which helps children from birth to age 3 to meet their developmental milestones. It helps provide therapies like speech, occupational, and physical therapy to individuals with disabilities. We provide consultative services to support students in local school districts. We provide transition services to help young adults transition into employment and housing and assistive technology. Our levy funding also allows us to make strategic investments in communities throughout the county. Since 2021, we've granted nearly $1 million to support over 50 community libraries, arts and culture, and recreation and leisure organizations, including in Cleveland Heights this year. We provided money to Artful Cleveland to help their programming. I just want to wrap up and say thank you so much for allowing me to be here tonight. We are here to support people with developmental disabilities throughout the county, including in Cleveland Heights. So if you ever get calls from residents and need our support, we are here. I will leave my card. Councilwoman Russell, it's wonderful to see you. You know all about our organization, and I'd love to catch up sometime for coffee and talk about everything that's going on at the board. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Amber, for your work.
Thank you.
Douglas Whipple.
Good evening, President Larson, members of council, and Mr. Mayor. I observe on today's agenda 10 legislative items. I also observe that of those 10, all 10 of them are declared emergency measures. While law provides for 3 readings, that provision has a laudable purpose. It helps provide for an educated citizenry and an educated council as well. The law is not that legislative actions are an emergency unless declared otherwise. The law is 3 readings unless it's an emergency. Now, I will say that the purchase of emergency equipment may well be an emergency. The repaving of tennis courts may or may not be an emergency. The repaving of tennis courts and waiving competitive bidding may or may not be an emergency. I respectfully ask this council to respect your constituents by respecting the 3 reading laws. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Patricia Brooks.
I'm not Patricia.
Davida wants one of those cards.
Ooh, good evening, council members and Interim President Kuda, Mayor. I want to read you something.
Name,
It
please.
says, oh,
Your name,
I'm sorry,
please, and
Patricia
your-
Frost Brooks, 3782 Bainbridge Road.
Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you. Cleveland Heights, Ohio. A long-time planned but never built section of Blanche Avenue is finally set to become reality as Cleveland Heights moves forward with a $2.5 million infrastructure project that will open the door for new housing development. Blanche Road is part of my neighborhood. I live on Bainbridge. I have talked to you, Mr. Petrus, you, Ms. Russell, and you, Interim President Mayor Kuda. The last meeting, which 4 of you were there, was in August. You heard the displeasure of the residents of Bainbridge that was representative there. You heard about the infrastructure, about the problems that were there. It's brand new land. It says in the article that there is no environmental concerns there, but there are environmental concerns, the concerns of the neighborhood that is going to be uplifted and new housing that has been built there. I received a notice from a company that wanted to buy my house. We keep getting these phone calls. They know about this plan before we do. We have asked you to tell us, to include us. Where is the transparency? Where is the honesty? Where is the community? We haven't heard that. We knew about this since 2015, and you have not come to the residents of Cleveland Heights and on Bainbridge Road. And now we hear that it is a done deal. I am frustrated. I am tired of this, and I don't know what else to say, but I'm disappointed in my council. I'm disappointed in the city of Cleveland Heights that they haven't come to the residents on Bainbridge Road.
Thank you, Patricia.
Sandra Ware.
Madam President, while somebody is coming up to speak, I just wanted to mention with respect to the comments about emergencies, and they're all well taken, and that's obviously something that council wrestles with on a regular basis. But in Cleveland Heights, under the charter and ordinances, it's a 2 reading rule, just as a technical matter, rather than 3, which is standard Ohio law. And emergencies can be adopted on the 1st reading without a suspension of the 2 reading rule. Otherwise, that requires 5 votes to suspend. But certainly the analysis of whether a given emergency warrants emergency passage, warrants 1st reading passage, et cetera, is something that council should continue to be thoughtful about.
Thank you, Director Hannah. All right, your turn.
Hello, Council. My name is Sandra Ware. I reside at 3786 Bainbridge Road, and I've resided there since 1995. I have a problem with this Blanche Avenue project, okay? I've received phone calls from people wanting to purchase my home. They've known about this for years. I've gotten letters anonymously put in my mailbox telling me they want to buy my house because their parents are elderly and they live in my neighborhood and they want to return to the neighborhood to take care of their parents. These are people that have already known about this. We did not know about this. We were told there was no way it would be a development in that back area. Now you want to develop it, which is going to just destroy the area and up my taxes, which they're already going up. So, and yes, like Ms. Patricia said, we were all told it's a done deal. How do you do a done deal and the residents were not informed of it?
Sandra, I'd just like to say that we were given an update during the committee of the whole meeting prior to this one from the Planning and Development Department, and they informed us there are a lot of inaccuracies in that article, and so we will be hearing more from them, I'm sure, because this article caught us all off guard. It caught us all off guard. So bear with us, and we will ask the questions that you're asking and make sure that they get answered.
Thank you.
Lawrence Bradley.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. My name is Lawrence Bradley. I'm at 3776 Bainbridge Road. I brought this issue about the Blanche extension. I'm totally against it, and I've brought it to you multiple times. I've been here at least 4 or 5 times telling you that, we don't want to have the extension. I don't see why it even needs to happen. Seems like it's I don't know who's pushing this forward, but considering the number of houses that have been demolished that can be rebuilt, I don't see why they need to take it. I mean, I guess it's selfish on my part because I do like my privacy, but and that's why I bought the house that I did and the land that I did. But I just don't. I don't believe it's. And then I'm hearing. So once again, I'm getting more information from outside than I'm getting from our city council. And so that's a big problem. So, if they build these houses, it said that they're going to be getting tax abatements. So we've been paying taxes for 30 years. So they come in, they get a new road, they get new houses, they get no taxes for 10 or 15 years. Now, I think that's kind of totally wrong. So, my problem is with you guys is I've come here multiple times. I if a citizen, a tax-paying citizen brings concern to you, it should be investigated. If not investigated, send us to the place where we can get answers from. And that's what hasn't been done. And that's why everyone is frustrated, because we haven't got any answers. So, and if it's going to go on, which it looks like, from what I've seen, then what are we getting out of it? Can the tax-paying citizens get a tax abatement like the new houses are? Can we get some kind of a fence to put behind us so we can have our privacy again? Can we get even just the, we got to worry about water concerns. The water table is very high back there. There's ducks there every year. So we know that the animals are going to be affected too. So it will affect us. And we are the tax-paying citizens. And if we're the tax-paying citizens, you should at least take care of us. So.
Thank you, Lawrence.
Thank you.
Barbara Sosnowski.
Good evening. Barbara Sosnowski on Northampton Road. I wish to speak on record about a wish for the coming budget that will be made for 2026. And this item is the continuation of the beautification of Noble Road by filling the existing concrete pots and then filling hanging baskets. This began around 10 years ago, and it's been a great asset to Noble Road. And for those 10 years, it has been done by Deluxe Landscape. Kim of Deluxe Landscape would walk with me, and we placed pots along the whole stretch of the mile or mile and a half. And she did a beautiful job. It just got changed after 10 years to another company. And I will say that the difference in the quality is night and day. The beautiful overflowing pots became just meager flowers with lots of potato vine. All of the hanging baskets died. So I will also say on Deluxe Landscaping, Kim was part of the community. She would come almost every day and water, and then she'd bring candy for the kids because they'd watch out for her. And she took care of her neighborhood. It was something personal for her. So I highly, I can't say request, but encourage you to consider Deluxe Landscaping to continue this beautiful trend, as we've heard about the beautification and stabilization of Noble Road. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barb.
Sheila Keller.
Good evening. Sheila Keller, Wood Road. Grew up here, went to Heights schools.
been here a few times talking about immigrant rights and a proposal we put forward for a 2-year pilot program to provide legal counsel to immigrants in our community at risk of deportation, or actually in deportation proceedings. I'm going to read tonight a story of a person from Cleveland, not Cleveland Heights, but it's very hard to bring people forward to share these kind of stories and be public. So I want you to take it as an example of somebody who is living in our community as well, because we know of them, but we can't share their stories publicly tonight, that will illustrate very clearly why waiting on this proposal is a mistake. If I run out of time, someone else will pick up where I left off. Jose came to the United States in 2019 with his family, hoping to build a better life. Like so many immigrants, he worked hard, cared deeply for his loved ones, and contributed to his community. Since 2019, he was working under conditions close to modern-day slavery. He was kept in a company house to work at a restaurant that was owned by the restaurant owner where he lived. Over years, his family members were exploited. They lost tens of thousands of stolen wages in wage theft. The Northeast Ohio Worker Center struggled to get him the money that he is owed once they came across him and started trying to work with him on his case. He was very reliant on his employer for a while to read the documents that were coming to him about his case as an immigrant here in the United States. So his employer, of course, knowing that he was eligible the whole time for a work permit, did not tell him that information, and he spent months not getting a work permit that he was eligible for. Through the help of Northeast Ohio Worker Center, he eventually got this worker permit, though they have struggled to get him back the tens of thousands of dollars that were stolen from him in wage theft. He did everything that was asked of him. He worked, paid taxes, and never missed a single check-in with the Department of Homeland Security. Carly will be taking up where I left off.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Good evening, Council and Mayor Kuda. My name is Carly Whitaker. I'm on 1171 Sylvania Road, and I'm just going to continue Jose's story. So at his most recent check-in on September 17th of this year, he was detained. He was being held in the Mahoney Valley Correctional Facility. There were dire conditions that he was living in. He's diabetic, and he's been telling his partner over the past few calls that he needs to eat a certain type of food that they were not providing. He finally got his medication for diabetes, but for weeks he did not have it. His blood sugar was skyrocketing. He was very afraid of this condition. The last time they talked, he said he knew of people that were dying in the prison, and he was very worried about that happening to him. He decided to self-deport this week because of the conditions he was put in the Mahoney Valley Correctional Facility. Like a lot of people, he would really benefit from the program we're proposing here in Cleveland Heights for free legal counsel for people in deportation proceedings. He didn't have access to legal aid or Catholic charities. They were really struggling to get him access to a lawyer, to legal services here. When we say that every day that we don't act on this proposal about free legal counsel for immigrants, when we say that every day that we don't act as a day that a community member here is at risk of deportation, we mean it. These are real human beings. So our asks for you as council is to first read our 2-page proposal, which outlines in detail our proposal for free legal counsel. Please vote to refer to this proposal to the law department for research with a prompt timeline. Include this funding for the legal representation as a line item in the 2026 budget that you're currently developing. And we've given you a contact with Liz Brown, the daughter of Sherrod Brown, who started the Legal Fund in Columbus, to talk about how they did it there. So please reach out to her for more information on why we should do that here in Cleveland Heights.
Sophie Hall.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm Sophie Hall. I'm a resident of Cleveland Heights.
Sophie, can you move up a little bit closer to the mic? Thank you.
Yes, on Overlook Road in Cleveland Heights. I'm also here to talk about our proposal for legal counsel. This is an emergency. Residents are living in danger every day in Cleveland Heights. The story you just heard hopefully made that clear to you and emphasized that. I know you have been dealing with a lot of changes and have a lot of important things on your plate, including the Noble District. This is also very important, and our proposal is very reasonable and legal and actionable. So if you could please read it and move on it. You've had it for over 2 months. And actually take action. Saying that you support immigrants' rights and our proposal doesn't do anything. Residents are waiting to see what you do. Voters are waiting to see what you do. And when you do it, if you could include it in the budget. I know that that deadline is coming up. This is very important. This is very urgent. So we need you to act on it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophie.
Abigail Stott.
Good evening, Council, Interim Mayor. My name is Abigail Stout, and I'm an attorney at the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland. I'm here with my colleagues Bobby Saltzman and Morgan McKay, who is a Cleveland Heights resident. Today starts the mark of the week of the National Lead Poisoning Prevention Week. Cleveland Heights recently passed a resolution in observation of the many ways our community can reduce children's exposure to lead in their environment to prevent lead's serious health implications. This resolution is just one of the several demonstrations that the City of Cleveland Heights has made to show their commitment to the protection of children from lead poisoning. In 2023, the city passed a lead-safe ordinance and has dedicated resources to require rental units to be free of lead hazards. We're here to tell you about another initiative to reduce childhood lead poisoning. Legal Aid has launched the Cleveland Heights Rent Escrow Project. Our state and local laws depend on the owners of rental units to take action to ensure that their rental units meet health and safety requirements, including that they are free of lead hazards. The rent escrow provision in the Landlord-Tenant Act allows a tenant to take action if there are conditions at their rental property that threaten their health and safety, and the landlord does not take action to repair. The tenant can pay into her rent into the court's escrow instead of to the landlord to put pressure on the landlord after giving notice of the serious condition. This process is not used nationwide. It is not, there are many barriers, logistical barriers. A tenant every month would have to go into the court to pay their rent instead of paying it their other method, which today is usually electronically. And there are other barriers. They might fear being evicted. They may fear that they have done the process wrong. So the program that we're launching has 3 basic buckets. The whole point is to empower tenants to take action. The first bucket is to do outreach and education of the community of tenants' rights. The second is to reduce some of those logistical barriers. So we're working with the court to reduce some of the barriers and possibly bring e-depositing to the court as a method to pay the rent into the court. And then also Legal Aid is assisting tenants. We will provide legal assistance to file the rent deposit and also provide legal assistance to represent the tenant if the case gets complicated. So we're here really just to say thank you for your support of the reduction of childhood lead poisoning during this week that recognizes it.
And is there, who are you sending the information out to? Because we do support that rent and escrow when there is a problem, and lead safety is part of that criterion. If they don't have a safe home for their children, then they can put their rent in escrow. So who are you going to send all the information out to?
We have been working with the city of Cleveland Heights. So we are working with Brian Iori, we're working with Fallon, we're also working with many of the different partners in the community. So we can talk further about it with council. We'd love to, but yeah, we have really appreciated the city of Cleveland Heights' engagement with us.
And thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Mike Corradini.
Good evening. Is that good? Good evening, council members, Mayor Kuda. My name is Mike Corradini. I live on Lamberton Road, and I'm here as an immigration lawyer and a Cleveland Heights resident to urge you to support a proposal that is simple, effective, and achievable, funding legal representation for immigrants in Cleveland Heights who are facing deportation. This proposal is simple. We're asking the city to fund legal representation for our neighbors who are at risk of being separated from their families and their communities. This is not a sanctuary city policy. It does not interfere with immigration enforcement. It is fully legal under federal law, which guarantees the right to be represented in deportation proceedings, and it's supported by a majority of likely voters across party lines. This proposal is also effective. Legal representation changes lives. Immigrants with lawyers are over 10 times more likely to succeed in their cases than those without. That means more families staying together, more stability in our neighborhoods, and fairer treatment for everyone under the law. Beyond safeguarding justice, legal representation strengthens our local economy. When immigrants achieve stability, they contribute more through work, through homeownership, through entrepreneurship. In Cleveland Heights, immigrants are vital to sectors like healthcare, education, and retail. Funding legal representation ensures that they have a fair chance to remain here and continue contributing to the community. And finally, this proposal is achievable. Dozens of cities, counties, and states across the country have already funded legal representation for immigrants, and we should join them. We're asking for a modest investment that will have an outside impact. Tonight, I'm asking you to take action. Read our simple proposal. Vote to refer this proposal to the Law Department for research. Include funding for legal representation as a line item in the 2026 budget. Talk to people in your communities who are or might be affected by immigration enforcement. Observe hearings in the Cleveland Immigration Court and see firsthand what it looks like for people to face deportation without a lawyer, and I can help you do that. And finally, please move this critical proposal forward for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Gus Manley.
Good evening, council members. Gus Manley, Hyde Park Avenue. I'm here on the behalf of the residents that have good reason to be afraid to be here for legal representation for our immigrant residents. Like many other areas in this country, we've seen residents of our city be forcefully taken from their homes, from their places of work, and from right outside this very courthouse following attending immigration hearings. These individuals are kept in horrible conditions in detention centers and with no legal counsel are then forced to choose between enduring cruel conditions and holding out for justice in a lopsided immigration proceedings or choosing self-deportation. In each of these cases, this is a life uprooted and a person displaced from their home in Cleveland Heights. Since immigration proceedings are considered civil cases, they aren't guaranteed a government-provided defender, but this is wrong. The Sixth Amendment guarantees counsel for criminal cases because liberty is at stake. But the stakes of these cases is nothing less than taking somebody away from their home, their friends, their family, their livelihood, and their freedom. As a society, we provide public defenders because we recognize that justice cannot depend on whether or not you can afford a lawyer. Just the same as we guarantee public defenders for criminal court, we ask that we provide legal counsel for these immigrants in their immigration proceedings. I understand having reservations about this when considering retaliation from the federal government, but it's important to first recognize that retaliation largely follows establishment of sanctuary cities, which is not what we're asking. We're asking for the provision of public defenders, which increases likelihood of success by 10 times. That is huge. Please read our 2-page proposal, refer it to the Law Department, and provide us updates. We want to see this as a line item in the 2026 budget. Thank you.
Jamie Hickner.
Glasses. Okay. My name is Jamie Hickner, and I live on Edge Hill Road. Thank you for having me here tonight. Hi, Mayor Kuda. Welcome, councilors. We're very excited about you, Zenobia Sheets, to have you as our councilwoman. Okay, for our audiences at home and those in the back, we went to No Kings with my family on Saturday, like lots of you did, I hope, and to talk about our concerns about the growing fascism across the United States. And that's what No Kings really means. It means we want a democracy like this, where people show up and they have representatives they've elected, and those representatives serve their needs. My daughter carried a sign that said they are zip tying children now, and that made me really sad. Because it's true. They are zip tying children now. Immigrants are being taken from their families, and their children are literally, in places like Chicago, but unfortunately other cities around the country, being left in the streets for hours in the middle of the night, zip tied. The great philosopher and writer Hannah Arendt wrote about bureaucracy and how bureaucracy made possible what happened under the Nazis. When I was a kid, I read a lot of books about the Holocaust, and I read a lot of books about enslavement in the United States. And the question that came to me over and over is how? How did people stand by and let these things happen? People who had religious faith, people who were people of conscience. How did they let it happen? We've been coming to you one-on-one since June, and in meetings in the council ever since then for a couple months at least. You all have copies of our proposal, the big one, and the smaller one that asks you to pay some money to make sure the people in our community who are in danger of being taken away by ICE and perhaps deported, that those people will have access to legal representation. We're not asking the city to give that representation. We'll have outside counsel do that. 25 people will have access, people who have been residents here for a long time and can establish that they've been residents. Please act on it.
Thank you, Jamie.
Quentin Yoder.
Hello, Council. My name is Quentin Yoder. I live on Bridgeview Drive. I've talked to you guys a couple times, and I'm here again representing Cleveland Heights for Immigrant Rights. Today, I'll be sharing a little bit more of a personal story with friendship that I have. So we've been talking about the separation of families and about how legal representation and the feeling and actuality of community safety is important, both for the economy and for the immigrants in your community. If it is not your job to protect the immigrants in your community, whose is it? I have a friend who is a student who's on a student visa from India. We recently had a conversation about the fact that he has not been able to visit his family since Trump took office. He's afraid that if he leaves the country, he will not be allowed back in, or he'll just be deported upon leaving to the airport. His concern about his success in America is in jeopardy because he wants to do something that all of us do every day, which is visit his family. A direct quote from him says, "As someone from another country, me and my family try not to think about our current situation because it's really depressing. At the end of the day, we put up with it because we are lucky to be in this country." Simply put, I don't know if I would have such an optimistic look on the American dream, given those circumstances. Those immigrants that share our American values, probably deeper than I do in those current circumstances, are simply what makes our country great. And to not protect those people, I think is criminal. I've been raised on American values, and protecting due process for all people in this country is simply the most American thing I can possibly think to do. That is why we are asking you guys to read our proposal, to vote to refer this proposal to the law department, to include our funding for our proposal as a budget line item, to contact Liz Brown, daughter of Sherrod Brown, who drafted some of the work that we've done she was the inspiration for some of the work that we've done, and to move our proposal forward for a vote. Thank you. This is important, and this is an issue of American values.
Thank you, Quentin.
Edgar Mitchell. Edgar Mitchell.
Good evening, Council, Mayor, and residents of Cleveland Heights, all of you, regardless of where you came from. Good evening. I've been here several times to talk about a problem on a property that's my niece's, that's been going on for 29 years. I moved to Cleveland Heights in 1979, but hearing the different comments and stories about everything that's going on, it really makes me feel like what I'm asking for is nothing, because I just need the city, I need the people that handle the sewers and the people handling the forestry and all that to sit down with me when they get time. And I'm sure it's going to happen sooner or later, because as long as I live, I'll be trying to get them to sit down with me so we can get this taken care of that I want to have. Hopefully, the things that you're asking that everybody needs will happen. I know it won't happen quick. Nothing happens quick. Yeah, it took away from me just to hear, I just wonder who really cares and who is going to really try to solve these problems that everybody's bringing up. And, I don't know what else to say about that, but I do believe in the city of Cleveland Heights, and I believe in the people that I look at. I just like to say that you don't know what another person feels or think. You would have to be that person in order to be them and understand what they feel and think. So I don't want to condemn anybody and raise up anybody. We all here, we all human beings, and we all need to strive to help each other here in Cleveland Heights. I'll say one thing more that made me feel good the other day. My car stopped on me. My Jeep stopped. Something happened to the transmission. I didn't know what was going on. All I know it just stopped where I couldn't make it go. And a young Cleveland Heights police officer pulled up behind me, and he stayed with me and blocked to make sure I didn't get injured by passing traffic or something until AAA came to get my vehicle. And that made me feel good that there is some people that wear the uniforms and some people that like to sit here. Some of you and some of us is going to reach up and help each other. And that's what's going to have to happen for Cleveland Heights to become what we're asking it to be. So that takes all of us to do that. And I couldn't say what I wanted to say tonight about what I came for. But anyway, God bless you all, and let's help each other.
Thank you.
Madam President, sir, before you leave, if somebody could grab him, I just want to say this to you. I don't think anyone here doesn't acknowledge the fact that you've been walking in here telling us the same issue for months now concerning that home, what's going on with the roots in that tree. And I want you to know that I hear you. And I don't want you to think that what you're dealing with is minimized because of anything else that you've walked in here to, because it's twice that I've heard you set your stuff aside while you're coming in here. The reason I'm saying this to you is because you're the third person that's coming in here with a matter that we've heard on multiple occasions, and it seems like either it hasn't moved or there's some type of misinformation. And so I don't want anyone to know to think that what you're saying does not matter, but it is clear that there is some type of breakdown in communication and in service along the city. By now, you should have gotten a yes or no answer, some type of resolution, some type of conversation. But the fact that we're still talking about a tree and a sidewalk, and we're talking about what's happening on Blanche is a problem for me. The fact that we haven't stated where we are in terms of some of our legislation and what we're walking through. What I'm hearing a lot is a lot of miscommunication. And so I want you to know you shouldn't have to keep driving here about a tree in those pipes. We heard you the first time. We definitely heard you the second time. And you sat through hours of comments on multiple weeks to tell us the same issue. And so I'm going to continue to work with my council colleagues and with Mayor Kuda. And I know because he sat right over there hearing you. So I know he knows we've got to figure this out because this is crazy. I know that some of us have considered like a running joke because of how you've handled this, but this is wrong. And so no one should keep having to come in here week after week when they should be at home having dinner to tell us something like that over and over again. And so I just wanted to say that to you because you've continued to dismiss what you've been dealing with while we've dealt with other things, but we got to figure this out. And so I just wanted to tell you thank you, and I hear you, and I hope to God this is the last time you're coming in here, unless you're telling us that we at least stopped by there, had a conversation with you, and that something is happening. And so I just wanted to say that you're giving us a level of accountability that we need, but there's a lot of that we've gotten tonight. So thank you.
Thank you.
That's exactly what we all need. That's what I feel that we should all do.
Thank you, Edgar. Addie, can you tell me what happens to, like, Mr. Mitchell's form this evening? Does it go on to the appropriate department?
I've got a spreadsheet. Now that Todd's back, he'll be getting those.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go ahead into legislation. We're looking at first readings, consideration of adoption requested. It's all yours, Addie.
I have ordinance number 208-2025 on first reading, an ordinance to amend certain subparagraphs of ordinance number 011-2025 relating to appropriations and other expenditures of the city of Cleveland Heights, Ohio for the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. A call for the vote. I'm going to ask for all in favor.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
I have resolution number 209-2025 on first reading, a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Vasco Sports Contractors for the Kane Park Tennis Courts resurfacing project, waiving competitive bidding and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have ordinance number 210-2025 on first reading, an ordinance amending ordinance number 023-2025, an ordinance establishing salary schedules, position classifications, and other compensation and benefits for officers and employees of the city to rename the position of Director Employee Resources as Director Human Resources, and to change Assistant Director Employee Resources to Assistant Director Human Resources, and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 211-2025 on first reading, a resolution authorizing the purchase of one 2026 F-250 Fire Command vehicle and one 2026 Ford Hybrid Police Interceptor utility vehicle from Ken Ganley Ford, Inc., waiving competitive bidding and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. All right. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Next, I have resolution number 212-2025 on first reading, a resolution authorizing the purchase of two 2026 Ford Transit Cargo 250 vans from Classic Ford of Madison for the Parks and Recreation Department, waiving competitive bidding and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Opposed? No. Take it back. All right. I'm trying to stay on schedule here. Motion passes. I'm so sorry, everybody.
Next, I have resolution number 213-2025 on first reading as amended. Resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Cleveland Heights University Heights City School District Board of Education and the City of University Heights for access to the swimming pool located at the CHUH High School building and providing terms and conditions applicable for such use and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure introduced by Council Vice President Russell, Council President Larson, Council Members Cobb, Maddox, Petrus, and Posh, and Mayor Kuda.
Woo! So moved.
Second?
Second.
All right. Discussion. Go ahead. Vice President Russell.
Yes, I want to say this is a long time coming. I spent 3 years with this legislation trying to write it, rewrite it, tear it up, and rewrite it again, just so we could get our pool open at the high school. I've put together legislation to pay for our lifeguards. And the second piece of the legislation was to open the doors for our residents to swim in the Cleveland Heights pool. So I am so happy to see this legislation coming forward. And I want to thank all my council members who asked to be signed on to this legislation as well to move it forward. So thank you all so very much for supporting this legislation. I want to thank Director Hannah for your input, my hollering in your ear or screaming in your ear and back and forth. And back and forth with my legislation, going from another attorney to you and back and forth. So I want to say thank you so very much for your time and patience in it as well. Thank you so much.
I think that all of us agree that this is a very big step forward, thanks to the work initiated by Vice President Russell and completed by President Kuda. I look forward to having more hours available at the pool and some aerobics classes, selfishly. So I'm excited to see this process started, and I do believe it's the beginning of a great relationship with the Cleveland Heights University Heights District. Mayor Kuda.
I just want to extend a thank you to Director Gonzalez for having the foresight to get the lifeguards lined up in anticipation of this, and his counterpart, Mr. D'Amato, at the schools, and Director Hanna for getting the legislation together with his counterpart at the schools. This is what I'm most excited about. I mean, besides the pool, is just to see the city of Cleveland Heights, the city of University Heights, and the school district and the city council working together, and how easy it is when we just cooperate and work together. Thank you, Madam President.
You're very welcome, Mayor Kuda. Vice President Russell.
I'm sorry, I meant to thank the Parks and Recreation Board. Over there, I see you, Mr. Dew, and all of the Parks and Recreation Board members. Thank you so very much for bringing this legislation forward, the ideal for it, out of the Parks and Recs Committee. So I wanted to make sure I thank you as well, because if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have created the legislation and wrote it, and it wouldn't have been coming forward today. So thanks.
Okay, I'm going to call for the vote, and Addie, I'd like to do a roll call, please.
Cobb.
Aye.
Larson.
Absolutely.
Russell.
Most definitely.
Sheets.
Aye.
Petrus.
Aye.
Maddox.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay.
Next, I have ordinance number 217-2025 on first reading, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with California Skate Parks for the Kane Park Skate Park renovation project and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
All right, on to first reading only. I have resolution number 214-2025 on first reading. A resolution authorizing a grant agreement with Noble Area Business Association and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Vice President Russell.
So move. Oh.
Moving on to consent agenda, I have resolution number 215-2025 on first reading. A resolution recognizing October 24th, 2025 as Climate Action Day in the city of Cleveland Heights and declaring the necessity that this resolution become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by Mayor Kuda. And I have resolution number 216-2025 on first reading. A resolution declaring November 29th, 2025 Small Business Saturday and declaring the necessity that this legislation become immediately effective as an emergency measure, introduced by all city council members and Mayor Kuda.
So moved.
Nope, I need a motion and a second to suspend rules.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? I'd like to take the vote on the motion to
Suspend the rules.
suspend the rules. So all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. And now I would ask for a motion on passing the consent agenda.
So moved. Oh, second.
We have a motion and a second, multiple parties. At this point, I'd like to ask any discussion on these two consent agenda items. We're good, and so I'll call for a vote.
Almost. I have just a really quick thing. In the spirit of Climate Action Day, I just want to remind residents that November 1st is Shred Day, and I only bring it up now because this is our last meeting before Shred Day. Again, November 1st, I believe it starts 8:30 in the morning right here outside City Hall.
All right, thank you, Mayor Kuda. Sorry I didn't see you. Addie, I need to know what the next item is, please.
Oh, we just need to do the vote on that one
Okay,
for adoption.
all right, thank you. Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Now we're on committee reports.
Thank you. I'm back on track again. Committee reports.
Madam President,
Councilor Maddox.
thank you. I know Parks and Rec is scheduled to meet tomorrow at 11 a.m. There may be some scheduling conflicts, and so we thought it'd be a good time to have the conversation now. I know that Vice President Russell can make that meeting in the morning, but Councilor Petrus would be on Zoom, and I believe you would also be on Zoom as well.
I cannot make 11.
Oh, you can even on Zoom, you can't do that at
no one
11.
reached
And
out.
so I just want to let the committee know if we can't do that, the only other solution we have is to pull it from Parks and Rec and drop it back into a committee of the whole so to get this piece of legislation through. But I did. Yeah, we just need 2 people for it, but I don't know what the appetite is for that from our current member. And I know Councilwoman Sheets wanted to make sure she stopped in on this as well. And she said she can dial in, but she would also be at work. And so I just wanted to see what the appetite was for moving ahead, or if we wanted to try to just put it back into committee of the whole, because I don't want Director Gonzalez beating me till Skittles fall out.
Any thoughts on that?
Hold on, Myra. Hold on. 5 minutes.
And just so we know, that agenda doesn't have anything else on it but that one piece of legislation for Director Gonzalez, but I didn't know.
Well, you're the chair, and I'm good, so it's up to you.
Councilman Petrus, would you prefer that we move it back into committee of the whole?
I'm unable to attend at 11. I could at 10 if people are available then. Otherwise, if someone wanted to send out a doodle, I'd be happy to consider another time. Or if you wanted to move it back to committee of the whole, that works. You're the chair, so I defer to you.
I know there is a 10 a.m. Is that?
Leadership.
That's leadership.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like we're going to have to move it back to committee of the whole then, because he needs it ASAP. Councilman, yeah.
Well, we'll put it on the November 3rd agenda for committee of the whole.
Okay.
All right. Okay, anybody else with a committee report?
Oh.
Vice President Russell.
Yes, I have a committee report. First, during my committee report, since Milka is part of the Merchants Association and she was not able to be here tonight because she actually lost her mother last night. And so I wanted to give my condolences. Also, I wanted to let the Taylor Merchants Associations, you would be truly, truly happy that I was able to get $10,000 for you to start the Taylor Merchants Associations from the county. So I got a call today stating that they will be getting $10,000 to help them start off with the Taylor Merchants Association. I want to thank County Council Person Purnell and it's a lot, right? Cuyahoga County Council Michael Hauser for the $10,000 for our second Merchants Associations to get them started and off the ground. So thank you. That's why I wanted you to stay.
Alrighty. I do have a committee report. Municipal Services and Environmental Sustainability. The committee met October 13th. John Barber was our guest. Sustainability Coordinator Boateng joined us. We discussed the data sets that could potentially be provided to council when we're making decisions about future investments. The next meeting of this council committee is November 18th. When we'll be discussing finalizing the complete and Green Streets revised legislation. Mayor Kuda has appointed Ken Bernard as Vice Chair of the Transportation and Mobility Citizens Committee, and that committee meets, Citizens Committee meets October 29th. Climate Environmental Sustainability Citizens Committee meets tomorrow, October 21st. Mark Lefkowitz is the mayor's designee to serve as Vice Chair of that Citizens Committee. I had the pleasure of attending a documentary called The Green Print, a revitalization of the Caledonian neighborhood on October 16th. This documentary is a great story produced by local videographers commissioned by Jen Holland, Building Heights, about Catalina Wagers and the Cleveland Heights Green Team, and all the neighbors and the volunteers who have helped clean up the Caledonia Ravine. It's going to be premiered, the documentary will be premiered at future documentary film festivals. It's moving up, and I must say I'm very proud to know a lot of the people that worked on that documentary and that were in it. So congratulations to everyone that was involved. And that's all I have for committee reports. Any old business? New business? Council member comments. Councilor Maddox.
Thank you. Just one, and it's concerning Councilwoman Sheets. Again, I want to welcome you to the council. I've been getting a question in my inbox and my phone calls privately, and I want to say this publicly while she's here. We are in partnership, and folks have been asking, can I reach out to her about stuff with programming, Parks and Rec, and all that? And the answer is heck yeah. Regardless of where she lands on these committees, she's made it very clear that she expects to have an impact in that area. And so you can feel free to reach out to her because I'm opening up that complete Parks and Rec agenda for her. To her availability in terms of the budget, any ideas, any program. We've got 3 strong months, not even 3. And so we've got to make sure that anything that she can get done, she gets done. And so we're not going to be doing any roadblocking. There's no ownership of anything. We're all at large. And so I'll be working with her any way that we can. So if you have any ideas, if you have any questions or anything that you want to dump on her, I hate to do this to you, but please do so because, yeah, dump on me too, because we're going to be working. Absolutely. Councilman Russell was on it all weekend in terms of just talking to residents in terms about programming and what this could look like for the city. And so if you have any issues or any things or any ideas you want to approach with her about, please know none of us own anything. And so please reach out to her and get to know her and talk to her as well. And so I wanted to make sure I say that publicly because we've got some work to do over the next couple of months. And so I want to make sure I'm not standing in her way because she's just going to mow me down anyway. So thank you.
Anybody else? Vice President Russell.
I want to mention that the Caledonia Playground, if anyone has not had an opportunity to go to the Caledonia brand new community playground, you should go and visit it. It is absolutely gorgeous. Myself, Council President Larson, Councilman Petrus, and myself was there. I'm not sure if I missed anyone. I don't know.
Miracuda.
Oh, I'm sorry, and Miracuda was there.
You got to shovel.
And
got the ribbon.
No, but oh, you did a fake step, yeah. But I wanted you all to know to please go to the playground and see it. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is a diamond in the rough of a neighborhood that truly needed a playground and a community playground at that. So I just want to thank my council people for going and participating in the ribbon cutting. And I just want to say congratulations to the Caledonia neighborhood for such a beautiful playground and community park.
I might add, it was designed in cooperation from the children. The children were involved in the design at all the phases. And so what they have is something that they dreamed about. It was their dreams. Nobody else for committee reports, and I'll make the president's report, okay? First of all, the committee assignments to Councilor Sheets. Vice President Russell and I will find time to get together and talk about where we'd like to see you based on your lived experiences that we're excited to have you on here for. Also, council has a meeting on October 27th at the Lee Road Library at 6 p.m. on the charter amendment. We're doing our last committee of the whole so that anybody that still wants to find out what's going on with the charter amendment, you have any questions, and of course you can always ask us at any other time if you can't make that meeting. It's been an eventful 2 weeks since our last regular meeting. Council met twice to consider the appointment to fill the vacancy when President Kuda was installed as mayor. Council Committee, Public Safety and Health, Municipal Services, and Environmental Sustainability and Finance met. Vice President Russell and I met weekly with Mayor Kuda and bi-weekly with the Law Department. Addie has scheduled budget hearings to meet with the mayor and his department heads. The hearings will be held from November 6th through November 13th. The schedule is posted on our website. It's important to me that everyone here tonight and watching now on YouTube later knows that the collaboration that is currently the rule for the administration and council is vibrant and it's working. There is much work to do, and the healthy discussions we're having will keep us moving forward together. Good night, everyone. This meeting is adjourned at 9:25.